This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Shirts for the Scene. Head over to the popkoproject.com and you can purchase your favorite band tee. We are raising money for the local artist in Northeastern Pennsylvania whose income was drastically affected by COVID-19 since the world shut down all the way back in March of last year. Hard to believe we've been going through this for almost a year now, but that's why this fundraiser is so important. Artists and musicians' income has been next to nothing, and by buying a t-shirt on the online store, your purchase will directly have an impact as the proceeds go to the band whose shirt you are buying. There are over 100 bands, artists, and venues to choose from, but the store will be closing at the end of March. So go to thepopkoproject.com and purchase your shirt today. That's thepopkoproject.com and click the link for Shirts for the Scene. And Shirts for the Scene is made possible by Axelrad Screen Printing in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. Visit them online at axelradarmy.com. My guest today was the frontman of the metal band Cyphilis, later known as Spitcan. They were extremely popular in Northeastern Pennsylvania and even caught the ears of some record labels. Unfortunately, their goal to make it mainstream never quite came to fruition, but he wouldn't want it any other way. He is currently the owner and master craftsman at Duvall Leatherwork in Kingston, Pennsylvania, where he specializes in prototyping and manufacturing finished leather goods for wholesale and retail sales. It was really cool getting to speak with Nick on this kind of level. I knew him as a musician, and although I knew he opened Duvall Leather in 2005, it was interesting to hear him speak about how and why he started the business and how he wants to make a difference not only in the community of Northeastern Pennsylvania, but also as a business owner to his employees. Welcome to the show, Nick Duvall. And we're live, hanging out with Nick Duvall. What's up, buddy?
Johnny, how are you? It's been a while since I've seen you.
It's great to see you, man. It's been a long time.
Probably two, three, maybe 3 years. I mean, maybe not that long, but it's been a while.
I mean, it's been probably over 10 years since you and I have talked at length. So yeah. I'm really excited to be doing this. Nick Duvall was once the frontman of a band called Cyphilis. They changed the name to Spitcan, and currently he is the owner of Duvall Leatherwork in Kingston, Pennsylvania. So Nick is very busy, but I wanted to talk to you about a few different things.
Absolutely.
We'll start with the music.
Okay.
So I don't know if you've seen any of these, but a lot of them focus on music. I'm trying to keep 80% music focused, and then the rest kind of, whether they're business owners or different artists, whether they're barbers or, tattoo artists, things like that. But you kind of cover two spectrums. With the band that you're in with Spitcan and Cyphilis, and then you're the business owner and all that. So I met you when you were in the band Cyphilis. Should we call it Cyphilis or should we call it Spitcan? What should we do?
No, we should call it Cyphilis because Spitcan was only the brainchild of trying to push the band forward in a commercial setting so that we could expand to actually make it a financial endeavor.
Okay.
The name was just a part of the situation. So it's always the music. It's always the thing. Band names are silly anyway. So the first name was silly. The second name was silly. It doesn't matter what band names are always silly.
Yeah.
What the music is what it's all about. So
sure. So we'll go with Cyphilis. When did that band start?
Let's see. I believe we played our first show. It would have to be around 2001. So I had been in several other bands, and Germ, aka Jared Peterman, was a guitar player that I knew from just being in school and college and things. And we started a band, and we auditioned some people, and we did this and we did that, and we had a lineup, and we played our first show, and then we played our second show, and then we played our third show, and I mean, it just took off from there. Everybody was always like, "Oh, you'll never play anywhere with that name. It's offensive, blah, blah, blah." You know, I was young and stupid and whatever, but to me, rock and roll or heavy metal is always about pushing the limits, offensiveness. I mean, whatever it is. Which is unbelievably lacking in rock and roll music. It doesn't even exist, which may be why no one even gives a shit about rock and roll hardly anymore. You know, it's worth one song, and then you're like, all right, there's 10 more on the album. It's like, I'll just go to the next band and the next band and the next band. So I don't know, maybe that had something to do with it, but that was, that's where the naming and all those things came from. And it was always just about the music, period.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you guys had definitely an aggressive style, but like back then in 2001 or so, I mean, that wasn't, uncommon.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, aggressive music was always something that was, there was no lack of it. It just seemed like there was just band after band and tour after tour and festival after festival, and it was the, it was the in thing, and it's just not so much now. And I'm glad we did what we did when we did it.
Yeah. So at one point, one of your bass players was Ed.
Mm-hmm.
Was he your first bass player?
We had two Eds. The first Ed was our first bass player was named Ed. The second bass player was named Ed. So we called him Deuce. He was the second.
Yes.
He was the second bass player. Yep.
Deuce is the one. So I moved into an apartment complex in Kingston in late 2002.
Okay.
And I was 20 years old. And there was a gentleman that lived right below me in the complex, and it was Deuce.
Nice.
And I had no idea that at the time, like I was in 2002, I had not even interned at the Weekender yet.
Mm-hmm.
But that was a great apartment complex. It was weird how it worked out because Keystone Light would appear on the outside of my doorstep. I don't know who put it there, but I mean, I was underage, so I wasn't buying it, and I don't know who would have done that for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a great place. It was funny because I wasn't even 21 yet, so I couldn't even come see you guys play.
Great neighbors leaving you beer in the middle of the night, right?
I didn't say it was him. I don't know who it was. It could have been my mother for all I know. I don't know. But yeah, it's interesting how that worked out. Cause I think he had moved out, shortly after I was there. Yeah. He definitely did. It was 6 months he moved out after I was there. Maybe I was a terrible, neighbor. And, it was funny because I wasn't introduced to you guys until probably 04, 05. Mm-hmm. I remember you guys playing. I'm like, holy shit, that I used to live above that guy.
So he was our third bass player. I mean, for some reason, that was something that we rifled through often, were bass players.
Yeah.
We had two different drummers, and then we really went through the bass players for some reason. And eventually we, Deuce fit the need, and we went from there. Again, those times were much different than they are now. I mean, I couldn't even, a band like us wouldn't even exist in a world like this. We have nowhere to play. A fan base is so wishy-washy. I mean, I really truly feel bad if you're not a set musician, unless you're a DJ or any of those kind of things, which a little bit over my head. I don't quite understand those things. I mean, I know what they are, but I don't understand how they gain momentum and following. But thankfully we hit the peak at just the right time, that we were able to do something exciting for ourselves and for our fans and the people that we did. And we never took it beyond to a professional level. And in some regards, I'm actually glad that we never did, because I never had to deal with that loss. Like, it was always something we strived for was to be able to become professional musicians, touring musicians, and play and put out albums and ride the career of what that is and live our lives. And we never got to that point. And as a 42-year-old man, I'm actually kind of glad that we never did. Right. It's better off that way.
Yeah. So, and we'll get to what you're up to now. But I mean, you guys did some great things. And you had a cult following for sure. I mean, this area loved you guys.
Yep.
But talk about, like, you were Cyphilis. I know you mentioned earlier, you changed the name to kind of be more commercial and kind of get to the next level. Tell me how and where Josh Rosenblatt kind of came into the picture.
Sure. So Josh came into our world probably around 2000, maybe 7 or 8, to work with us on a managerial level. We had no guidance in that kind of respect. We all have pretty good heads on our shoulders, but it was nice to have someone who was a little bit tightening up the seams and putting us in the right places to play in front of the right people and do the right things. So Josh entered the scene. We played some. We came up with some very clever marketing. We really started to push album sales and figuring out those things through the gallery of sound and all those old names of places, and it started to work for us. And we had some label interest, and we would send packets off and this and that. And one of the challenges was the name thing. It just constantly came back to bite us. And with Josh, it was a part of the process is that we need to change the name. If we want to pursue this as professional musicians, then we need to do that, because it was a bit too much, too aggressive, too provocative, too whatever, for that time or whatever. But we did eventually change the name. We put out, I believe, one album. It was kind of a mix of everything and some new things, and released it in, not so much to be commercial, just more to be able to be appealing to a record label, to sign a deal and put out an album and tour on it. And again, those kind of things just never quite happened. And the economic downturn of 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, I mean, those things just put the freaking nail in the coffin of touring and the iPhones and the ability of people to get music and share music. And it just spiraled out of control to what it is today. And again, as a 42-year-old man who, I keep up with stuff, but there's no sacred ground on music anymore. It's one song and move to the next band and the next thing and the next Doritos commercial. I mean, it's weird. It's just an art form that's just television movie. I mean, even that stuff, it's hit its, everything's fake, everything's CGI, everything's just, there's very few things in creative art that are actually like real tangible things. Music used to be something like that. I'm sure there is. There's still some pretty cool bands out there that play, and there's still some people that are genuine to what they do. I still hear stuff that comes out that's really, really awesome. But then you got coronavirus, and it's like, well, how do you tour, make money where you can't even you can't even sit at a bar to eat pizza? Like, you can't do anything. And how are you gonna commingle 10,000 people in a place to play a show? And even if coronavirus does go away, I'm not going to subject myself to being around 10,000 people. So I'm not sure how they're ever going to recover from those kind of things. I mean, maybe one day they will, but I don't see that anytime soon.
Not anytime soon. I mean, it's weird. They say it takes 21 days to make a habit or form a habit. And we've been doing this for almost 365 days. And, people, we do things and that's what we do. Like, that's like, we don't like change. No one likes change. Right. So it's like, this is the change, and we've adapted and we're doing what we have to do. And it's going to be really weird moving forward.
It will be. Music is a very social thing too. It's enjoyed by a group of people. It can be enjoyed at home. It can be enjoyed by yourself, but a live concert venue, I mean, that is about the commingling of people in a place that enjoy and want to be a part of something. And if you can't do that because of some type of disease or virus or government regulations or something, the longer that goes on, the further you've been from the habit of commingling with people. And when you are able to do it, you're like, I don't need to do that anymore. I can just watch it on YouTube. You know? And that could be something that's very realistic that a lot of touring musicians have to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even see things, getting back to, half normal this year. I mean, it's going to be, I think people are still scared, even with the vaccine. I mean, I don't know where you stand with that or how you feel or whatever. It's not really important, but I mean, even people that have the vaccine, it's still like, that's like a safety net, and it's still like they're still going to refrain from doing things, I think.
Absolutely.
So,
and music is one of those things that's just front and center. I mean, again, you couldn't label one other thing that draws that, maybe a sporting event that draws that many people together.
Yeah.
For an event.
One thing, we're talking about venues. If it weren't for you guys, I probably would never have been able to be in CBGB's in New York City.
Yes.
So I think
it doesn't exist anymore, I don't believe, right?
Right, exactly. So that's what I'm saying. So I think it was 2006. I think it's 2006. I want to say 2006.
Could be, yeah.
It had either 2006 or early 2007, like spring of 07. I think it was 06 though. But we ran a bus trip with the Weekender. Yep. I know Josh Rosenblatt was involved with that too.
Yep.
We did a fan bus trip to CBGB's with Cyphilis, which was a shit show. not your show wasn't shit. Just the bus ride there with the booze and the hanging out. And I actually ran into Elijah Wood. I ran into Elijah Wood. I don't know if it was like a bar or what it was. And to this day, I still bust Tom Bonomo. Because I think you guys had him as like your photographer. At
the time, he was definitely taking pictures of us.
Yeah, and he actually worked for, I think, Electric City at the time. So that was weird. He had the Weekender, he had the EC photographer. But so Tom took a photo of me and Elijah Wood, and he can't find it.
Yeah, of all the millions of pictures he's taken, he can't find the one that you want, right?
The one that I want.
Yeah, I believe he was at CBGB's because when we finished the show and we did whatever, and I remember coming back, or I don't know, for some reason I was there, and I remember seeing him in the club. It was after we had played, but that was a wonderful outing for our fans and people from this area, and just the whole thing going together. I mean, you could never replicate that again. Like, first of all, you could never find a band that could hold up and play in a place like that, and then get enough people to fill multiple buses with, to take there, to play the show, to do the thing. I mean, it was fantastic all the way around. The press from the Weekender and you guys, us doing it. I mean, the fans paying for paying for their tickets and everything. I mean, holy shit, man. I mean, talk about, even if it was a shit show, the synergy of everything coming together at the right time, at the right place. Again, a historic venue like that doesn't even exist now. I mean, I guess you could play the Trocadero maybe or something, but there's few places, like that left anymore.
Yeah, it's crazy. Was that kind of like not the last show for you guys, but was that kind of like, for you guys, was that kind of it? Like, was that like the coolest, most recognizable venue that you guys played?
Maybe the most recognizable. I mean, we played some other places. We played, Trocadero was one I can think off the top of my head. And we played some other places in New York City that, some other memorable places. I can't think of off the top of my head. I'm starting to get old.
I know.
Forgetting shit. But no, I mean, even pinnacle of stuff, like even when we did our own CD release of some shows and stuff, I mean, selling out our own clubs and a couple thousand people, and that was pretty legit. Playing with Breaking Benjamin in front of some pretty big crowds, that was super legit. I mean, top 200 Billboard for 2 weeks when that was actually a thing. That was legit. I mean, so there were many things that happened, after that were still
cool
up there. But that was still that was a unique venue. It was a kind of a dump, but I mean, cool. I was a little taken back as how dumpy it was, but what the hell is that? That's pretty much, I guess, what I was expecting.
That's rock and roll, man.
Yeah, that's very true. Very true. And New York City. New York City and rock and roll all together in the same place.
Poor New York City, man. I don't know. I don't know if that place is going to come back.
Yeah, it's hard to say.
It's going to be a long time, if anything.
Yeah.
It's scary what's going on out there.
Well, we'll all get over it. It'll all end soon enough, and we'll be back to normal.
I hope.
Of course. Everything ends.
Well, what was cool, and I was going through some things. You guys did a reunion show.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, that was like 8 years ago, right? No, it was 10. It was 2011.
Yeah, I can believe that. So, we didn't play for a while. Music had lost its luster for all of us in playing, and the frustration of trying to get somewhere and not getting there was extremely challenging. As a business owner today, I only wish that I knew these kind of tactics of how to push a business forward, the business being the band Cyphilis, Spitcan at the time. But I just didn't understand the nuts and bolts of how to make money, and how to have a career and how to be a professional musician. And it all lost its luster for us after a while. I mean, people can drag on and this and that. German started playing with some other bands. And we just all got tired, and people started to have families, and my business started to take off even more. And it just wasn't for us. So we took a little break for a while, and we're like, that's it. Let's do it. Let's play one last show. And we had still had our chops about us, and we were still able to play. And we weren't so far out of practice that we didn't know what the hell we were doing. And we did it. And it was a success. I mean, it was a great show. I mean, the place sold out beyond sold out. We honestly could have played 2 nights in a row. Which I don't think any local band, I mean, maybe Breaking Benjamin could do something like that. But I mean, to have the possibility of playing 2 nights in a row sold out in the same club would be unheard of. But we did it, man. And it was awesome. And the fans enjoyed it. And when we quit, we were done. And that was it. And, we were approached about playing a show a couple years ago, and to open up for another very well-known local band. And we didn't have our chops about us. We had been so far out of the scene that we would have had to, the effort it would have taken for us to get back on stage was not worth the dollars and cents and the just of playing the show.
Right.
When you get in, it's just like yourself with your life and your job and your family and your things, it's like when you have to disrupt that, there has to be some type of compensation. There has to be something that's going to be like, okay, I'm going to take time away from, my children or my business or whatever it is to make that worth my time. And it just didn't work out. And honestly, I'm glad it didn't. So it's best to, when you hang your hat up, it's done, Yeah,
you went out with a bang. So that's good.
Yeah.
I was there.
That's the way it should be. That is the way it should be. You should go out with a bang and then just be done with it. So many touring acts go out with a bang, and then for some reason, probably because they're poverty stricken, they have to come back and do it again. And it's like, oh, come on, guys, and then they suck or they make asses of themselves, and it's like, but it didn't pan out for us. So I'm glad for that.
You mentioned that, had you known then what you know now as far as a business goes, what do you think you would have done differently?
A lot, if you're going to become a professional at anything, it's, I don't care how many people think that, I, on the other hand, even into my business, like I have made the dream of making your hobby into a business, into a scalable business, a reality. And same with music too. Like you could be a purist and think that all bands, they just play great music, so great things happen to them. That is simply just not true. There's a lot of business tactics that have to go into it: marketing, thought process, borrowing of money, paying to get on tours, having the right producers work on your albums, having the right managerial people, the right entertainment lawyer. I mean, there's so many details that are missed because you're not a business person. You're just a musician and you're young, and your sex drive is more important sometimes than your financial drive, or vice versa. And there's just things that you really miss out on that come later in life. Most touring musicians, most professional artists, they might put out their best albums, the first one or two, but they never really develop as professional touring bands until slightly bit later in life. Drug use, alcohol abuse, those things run rampant because they're young, dumb kids that never have any guidance. And that doesn't happen until they become slightly older, which is similar to business.
So you say that, right? And I appreciate that. Because the older you get, the wiser you get, there's more experience. But I think musicians today, they are more polished in the sense that they treat their bands as more of a business, which is great. You just said that, those are the things you got to do. But also, I feel like they miss out on those reckless years too.
Of course.
Which are fun and they're exciting. Yep. And there's you have stories that, when you're 80 years old, you can tell your grandkids or whatever it might be. Like you have those. So, I mean, I feel like there's not like a middle ground there. It's like, it's hard to achieve that. That's probably like the if you could figure that out, then you're golden. But
because they never will, because such is our culture and our society that they grew up riding a bicycle with a helmet. And I have never worn a helmet on a bicycle. So, that was acceptable when I was a child. So my antics when I'm a musician is slightly different than someone today. They have everything at their fingertips. They have every piece of research detail. I mean, all you need to do is Google how to get a record deal, or even understand what an entertainment lawyer is. It's so simple to know everything. Mm-hmm. And that's why they're so polished, because if you have the buffing compound here, the internet, and if you have some steel wool on the other side being the band, I mean, it's the perfect combo. And it's all about selling product. I mean, they understand that they can easily be on iTunes. They can easily be on Spotify or Pandora. I mean, for God's sakes, those things weren't even existent when our first albums came out. I mean, we were lucky to be on Freddie's Closet at 11 o'clock on the radio, or they had something on Friday nights where you could call in and request your favorite band, and it was literally like Cyphilis. I mean, and it was not the same person. It was like thousands of people voting for the same song. No internet radio. It wasn't even. I don't even know what the internet was in those days. No cell phones. No iTunes. No nothing. It was a CD, and if you were played on the radio, holy shit, man! I mean, that's next level. Especially if you're a heavy metal band. I mean, it's one thing if you're like Buck Cherry playing some song that they play all the time. But man, when it's like somebody that's aggressive and next level and not signed to a major label, I mean, that's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah, I miss those days. I think it's just a simpler time. And I say this a lot. You mentioned Spotify and iTunes and things like that. Like, add Netflix into that. Like, I feel like there's so much at our fingertips. Like, I spend more time looking for a movie to watch than I do watching the movie.
Watching it.
Because there's just too much.
Overexposure.
And the same with music, dude. Like, I mean, I don't remember the last time I listened to an album start to finish. I mean, well, first of all, they don't exist that way anymore. Unless you're the Foo Fighters who just dropped something recently. But like, you think about it, there's never going to be, and you're a little older than me, but not by much. But I mean, there's never going to be another Foo Fighters or, Rolling Stones or Pearl Jam. I mean, that's never going to happen again.
No, not at all.
Which is crazy.
Let's pause it right here. I got to get my charger.
Okay.
Hang on 1 second.
All right. We're good. You charged up?
Yeah.
Sweet. But we were talking about just so much going on with, music and movies and Netflix and Spotify, all that kind of stuff. Like it's just too much. And I wonder, they say kids these days, their attention spans aren't what they used to be, or they're lacking, or they're suffering. It's like, how could they not be? I mean, It's kind of scary, like.
I mean, you could just boil it down to overexposure of everything. You're overexposed to too much food, too much television, too much music, too much screen time, too much everything. Everything is just to the max.
Yeah.
And there's no wonder why no one has an attention span. I mean, as a grown adult, I have no attention span. I can't imagine what a child is like when their minds are so malleable that it's this is the perfect time whether they're going to become focused or just a ball of shit. And it's just like, I mean, everything is just too much.
Yeah, it's too much.
Too much of everything.
It's over the top.
Your phone is connected to you to the point where people wear a watch that is then connected to the phone, which is connected to their pocket for like, you just constant connection to the next thing. And then you wonder why you're upset, depressed, can't think, can't sleep, can't do anything, can't focus, can't, as a craftsman and someone who has to be focused and a business person, I have to detach myself from a lot of connection.
Right.
There's just no need for people to have that much connection to me, period. I don't care how important I am. Or not important. It's just, you got to leave me alone. And music and TV and everything like that is the same thing. It will not leave you alone. It follows you around. It's in everything you do. It's cold outside. What are we going to do? Watch TV. You get in your car automatically turns on your Bluetooth, which turns on your music, which if I wasn't even paying attention to it, the music comes on. And sometimes it's a shitty song and sometimes it's a good song. So it just follows you. And, kids they're subjected to the worst end of it. I mean,
yeah,
but everyone has we didn't have any bike helmets. That was our problem in life, I guess. So the problem is that they can't focus.
Yeah, no kidding. So, you did what you wanted to do in music. And then I feel like you kind of slid away from all that stuff that, connected you with what you had, right?
Yep.
And I feel like you kind of like hid yourself, and I'm not using that as a negative way, but hid yourself into your business.
Yep.
That you currently have now.
Yep.
And I remember when you opened the business, I'm not even going to try and guess the year, but I want to say like 07.
2005, I started my business. So I bought this building in my current location where I'm at now, 2006. So I started out early.
But I mean, I remember you there. And I feel like, and if I'm wrong, please obviously correct me, but like you started off and you were kind of just you weren't focusing really on like local, were you?
So what we should do is back up to the whole premise of everything. Everything is about being creative. So no matter if it's leather or music or cooking or just basic art, it's all about being creative. So when I was a musician, my creative energy was pushed towards the creation of music and entertainment as a live performer. What I took from that was the ability to sell myself as a person, to have the confidence to do anything, and to create songs and a product being music, that people liked and enjoyed and wanted to be a part of. My business started because of my need to create. I went to college. I graduated from school. I got a job in the field that I went to school for. I worked at it for a certain amount of time, and it just was not for me. I needed to create again. And I was back to the point where the band was not, we were still playing hard and we were still doing our thing, but I needed more of it. And so I had worked with leather my entire life, and the ability to create a product, just like a song, no matter what it was, a historical product or a handbag that I make today, it's still a tangible thing that I created, much like a song. So all I really did was take one thing and just roll it into the next thing. But the next thing was much more hidden than being on stage, firing up a crowd to prepare for, a show.
A mosh pit.
Exactly. It's just, I went from that always up front thing to I'm back here now. I'm creating my own thing. And now I'm starting to come out of the shell again. And the brand is starting to take off a little bit more. So the idea is showing myself as a designer, a craftsman, someone who does it all the time. I mean, there's a lot of times that I don't even touch a piece of leather all day for many days in a row because I'm a business person as well too. So I'm juggling the creative aspect of how do I make my business more scalable, or how do I push it to the next level, or how do I do better for my employees? And then I also have the other side of how am I going to design a bag that your wife wants, or your sister, or somebody, or a legion of people who buy my product. How do I create that? And that's just all I've done, is taken the creative aspect from one side to the other side. Somehow I figured it out pretty well.
I mean, I think you've always been, always done really well there. And I guess what I was trying to get at was like, you kind of touched on it. You were doing stuff for you, but now you're much more, I guess, at the front, I guess you could say, and you're, marketing handbags and things that people, use. And I don't think that you were always in that space.
No, not at all. I mean, when I first started my business, I've always had a tremendous interest in American history, period. And my original interest in my leatherworking was historical reproduction work, right, which requires a tremendous amount of skill, leatherworking skill, techniques. Many, many things that are beyond the conversation of this interview that are dull and boring, but really, that's what drew me to leatherwork in the first place, was the challenge of how do I do something that is the technique of someone who did it 150 years ago. The problem with that is that it's an obsolete piece of equipment or thing that very few people need. So your market is like, or next to nothing. So there's no financial or business advancement in something where your market is so small that you have a hard time selling product. Hence, move into the modern thing. So, I cut my chops on learning how to do these unbelievably complex techniques to move into the world of more design. And I'm not limited by materials. And I have so many more things that are at my disposal, fabrics and leathers and buckles and rivets and thread that make people happy every day. People love to be a part of something that is unique and interesting. And, the stuff is made right here in Kingston. People love to pull out their wallet and be like, yeah, man, you're getting a group of people and 5 out of 10 people or 9 out of 10 people all have a wallet that came from my shop. And they all appreciate the fact that they're a part of a club that has one, that got it, it has it, and it's made right here, and they want to be a part of that. And that's the new realm of what I do.
And did you see yourself being where you are now when you first started?
Johnny, I got to tell you, I'm one of those kind of people that if I have a vision of where I'm going to be, I'm going to be there. And that's one of the things that was always a disappointment about music, is that I had a vision of where I was going to be and I never got to be there. And it was a good thing. And it was, it was just meant to be. And that I should love the life that I have because that happened. And so if I see myself now, or if I saw myself 5 or 10 years ago as someone who is starting a brand, has started a brand. I mean, I've been in business for 16 years doing something that's, it's not like I'm inventing plugins for the back end of a website or something that, or some medical procedure. I mean, we make leather goods and I sell them in Kingston, Pennsylvania every single day. But I had a vision of where I wanted to be. And by God, I put it into place. And I have visions of where I'm going to be for the future and with what our business is and our model and the employees that I have and how many more employees I want to have and what I want to do for the greater good of the Wyoming Valley. And by God, I will make that happen, because when I have a vision, it's just what it's meant to be.
Yeah. No, that's great. I mean, I'm so happy that this area has someone like you and your shop. And, is it fair to say that, with music, I think there's so many obstacles. Even if you said like, I want to be a musician that's, on tour and all that kind of stuff, I feel like it's much hard. Like if you're a business owner and you're making leather goods, I feel like it's more feasible that you have more control over what happens every single day.
Correct.
As opposed to the music industry, where there's just so many different obstacles and people trying to, in your way or whatever it might be. I feel like where you are now, you have a vision and I don't want to say it's an easier route, because it's not, that's the wrong word, but it's something that you can control.
Sure. Music, no matter which way you slice it, if you're going to make a profession of it, the end result of music is advertising. So let's break that down. So you hear a song and you like it. You're going to then go to the Rockstar Energy Rock Fest or Ozfest, or you're going to go to some, I don't even know what festivals, Download Festival or whatever it is, right? And the core focus of that festival is advertising, right? It's radio ads. It is, every freaking energy drink you could ever imagine, plastered all over everything. It's Jägermeister. It's this, it's that. When you're a musician, if you're going to be a radio musician, your only job is to sell more ads, period. I don't care which way you slice it. If you really break it down to why the existence of that band, you even heard of them, is because they can sell advertising. Slayer does not sell advertising, or very little advertising, because they're not an advertising driven band, period. So to get into the world of music, you have to fit into one of those realms. If you cannot sell music, your career will not, or if you cannot sell advertising, your career will not last very long. The only thing you have to fall back on is you create happiness. You create happiness through your music that makes the audience happy that they have it and they appreciate it. Let's fast forward it to what I do now. I make a product that makes a customer instantly happy, because it's quality, it's handcrafted by someone that they just met, and it's going to be envious of the people around them. I don't need to sell anything else except for that happiness factor. And music is one of those things that maybe a long time ago it was all about being happy. But at some point, it changed direction. And it was about the advertising first, the happiness second. And that's what just separates those key things. And that's why it's so hard to break into the music business.
Yeah.
Because you have to be able to sell. And if you can't sell, we'll find somebody who can.
But you can sell. I mean, you're selling products now.
Yeah, of course. Now I sell happiness.
Yeah.
Period. I mean, in the music industry. If you can't sell product by writing the right song or the right amount of albums to make their money back, we will find the next person who can. And the highway is loaded with stories of bands who fell by the wayside, probably even us at some point,
But that's a good thing, right?
Yeah, of course. So, I don't know if you've ever thought about music in that kind of pattern or not.
Yes and no. I mean, music makes me happy. So, I mean, I consume it in that way. Like for me, I mean, I don't like the mainstream stuff. So like, yeah, I mean, it's different for me, but I mean, I absolutely understand what you're saying. It's the Jonas Brothers of the world and Miley Cyrus and I mean, you name it. I mean,
I could be anybody.
Turn on the radio, the top 40 station. You're going to hear what you're talking about. So. Even
if it's not the radio, you're still getting bombarded by Bud Light ads when you go to see Lamb of God or the heaviest, Cannibal Corpse. It doesn't matter what it is. You're still being bombarded by the advertising that put those bands on that stage that day that you saw. And again, it just goes back to advertising and the key difference between creating a product like I do now compared to the music world.
Do you hate advertising?
No, not at all. I'm just
I know. I'm just kidding.
No, because I mean, advertising is, it's a fundamental fact of discovering what things are. I mean, who would know what dilly dilly is if it weren't for advertising? Or, there's so many different things out there, but it is a crucial part of the culture that we live in, for sure.
Yeah. So what's in store for Duvall next? I mean, I feel like you really started marketing on a local level. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're talking about these handbags and purses and wallets and things like that. And I mean, is that kind of your focus? Kind of being more retail driven?
A little bit of everything. A little bit more manufacturing. I hope to be one of those companies that's extremely innovative and is a good employer, a good place that people want to work. That's very important to me, and expand on that. And so by expanding on that, that means that my brand can expand because I have the manufacturing capabilities to make more product, different product, and go from there. I mean, we sell a tremendous amount of things online too. I mean, we ship product all over the country. And then, our other manufacturing endeavors too are a big part of what we do besides the Duvall Leatherwork brand and our bags and things. But I always want to be, that the next thing that's just a little bit unique. It's something that you just can't go buy everywhere and is instantly recognizable to people who want something that's nice and quality and makes them happy.
Yeah, and I'm really happy you touched on just being an employer that people want to work for, because I think that's lost in a lot of businesses these days.
100%.
So
those are things I would not be able to do as a musician. I don't really. I'm not a well thought out community driven person, or I don't donate a bunch of my time to a lot of things, but mostly what I do donate a ton of my time to is making sure that my employees have a really good place to work. I mean, that's a full-time job, is to be, a good employer, on a personal level, on a financial level, just making sure that they have enough light to be able to see what they're doing and do it efficiently. And as we move forward in the whatever's going to happen after this odd world that we live in now, the whole American made thing, I know, is going to become even more important than it was before it was important, before it was cool to be important, before it was hip to be important. And I'm ready for that. I'm ready for the challenge of American made every single day. It's what I do.
Yeah, I love the fact that you said that and you're sitting in front of an American flag.
Yeah, 48 star flag. I'm not sure. I have it on loan from a friend of mine, his wife's grandmother. I'm not sure where it came from, but a 48 star flag. So that would put it 1940, probably 1940s-ish, somewhere around that time. So pretty cool little detail about the flag behind me.
I didn't even notice that until you mentioned it.
That's okay. You'd have to be counting the stars. And
no.
Now you're looking, you're like,
I am like, times it by 6. That's neat. But no, man, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I appreciate you doing this, and I just want to learn a little bit more about you. And, I've known you for 16 years now, but we've never talked like this before. And I just kind of wanted to get to know you a little bit better. Learn more about the bands and just why and how you got to where you are today. I mean, I just think, I living here in NEPA, you always hear people complain about how shitty it is and there's nothing to do, sure, or there's not this, that, the other thing. And I mean, there are places like you who exist. There's a business like, and I'm not saying it because I work here now, but Axelrad screen printing. And I think Dave's is a lot like you, and just your mentality and, the way he treats his employees. It's like he wants it to be a place that people want to work. And I mean, I knew him when he opened up down the street from you on Kingston Corners. And there's guys that worked there then that still work for him to this day. And I'm trying to think of some other places that are just slipping my mind right now, as far as, local owned businesses that just, treat their employees right. And they want to see this area, do well. And I mean, why wouldn't they? Why shouldn't we, as people who live here, want this area to succeed? Yeah,
of course. I mean, you can get into the politics of it. You can get into a million things, but bottom line is that people got to have good jobs. They got to have something that they're proud to do. They got to be motivated. It all turns to create product or services that people want to have. You could move to the biggest metropolitan area in the world and try to start a small business and, get lost in the translation of everything in life. But in a place like this, if you have the will to just get up every day and grind it out and be smart and use technology and don't let people and their stupid fucking bad opinions and negativity get to you, I mean, you will be a rock star, period. Yeah. I mean, you just get by that stupid stuff, you will be a rock star.
And I think, you're right. Because this area you're able to do that because it's not a huge area. I mean, some places that it just came to my mind, just the craft breweries that opened up, the small brew pubs like, Breaker Brewing. And those are, I think, add a lot of value to our area. There's a lot of opportunity here if there are people willing to take it. So
you have to have those kind of leadership, people that they can look up to that make something happen. That's not a politician. It's not, 16 generation family business or whatever. I mean, I moved here 21 years ago from Southern Pennsylvania. And I've not left to this day. I can get on an airplane and fly wherever I want to and enjoy wonderful meals and culture and this and that and come right back here and get back to work and have never missed a beat. So if you think NEPA sucks, then get on an airplane and go somewhere and come back. I mean, it's a wonderful therapy.
Yeah.
But it's the saying, like, the grass is only as green as where you water it or something like that. It's
yeah,
so true. It's like you can only make, you got to make the best of what you got.
Yeah.
Period. So,
well, I wish the best of luck for you and
thank you, Johnny.
Work and like I said, I'm happy and honored that we have someone like you in this area to help us move forward. So
that's very kind of you. I 100% never think of myself like that. It's just day in, day out. So it's nice to hear someone say something nice like that they appreciate it. So I very much thank you for that.
And that's I'm not saying that just because I'm looking at you. It's really a great thing, and we need people like you. That's all there is to it. So
I'm going to keep on keeping on.
Thank you.
So. You're welcome.
Well, I'll have to stop by and purchase one of these wallets so I can be part of the club.
You should. We have lots and lots of them. We make many, many wallets every single day. So
cool.
That's a big thing.
Where can people find you if they're listening or watching this online?
I mean, we have a 100% e-commerce website that's been up and functioning for 15 plus years. DuvallLeatherwork.com. You can easily Google search us and find the website. Order any products, free U.S. shipping. We really make it as easy as possible. If you live right down the street and you're hearing this, or if you're watching on Facebook and you live in somewhere local, I mean, we have a full retail store here in Kingston, and we sell all of our products in. Sometimes we even have stuff that we don't offer online because it's our unique lines of things. And that is how you can purchase our products. We do not sell anywhere else. It is only through our two outlets, the online outlet and our retail store.
Cool. Thank you again for doing this. It was a pleasure learning more about you, and hopefully I'll see you soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
See you, Johnny.
See you.